should expect and what we actually found. My head pressure, how do I determine what I should expect for head pressure? Ambient plus 30. What's our ambient? 67 plus 30 would be, and when I look up 97, 187 is what we said. Alright. And our head pressure was 185. So I'm going to say nothing wrong with that. It's pretty close. Suction pressure, I expect a 40-degree coil, right? 40 degree on R22 converts to about 68, 69 pounds. However, we had how much suction pressure? 44. This is much lower. It's below it. Superheat, we said we were going with 5 to 12 degrees on what to expect for superheat. This is not a TXV, it's a fixed metering device. To figure superheat, we go with the actual temperature minus the converted. So in this case, superheat, my suction line temperature is 56. That's actual. I'm going to subtract converted. To convert, I take 44 pounds, convert it, so that's about 20 something, right? 21. So 21, that's going to be, is that 25? 35. Pardon me, 35. So,
where did you get 21 from?
For the suction pressure converted. Suction pressure converted. So I look for 44 pounds of pressure. That equals 21 degrees. Right? Where did I lose you? Where am I losing?
Look at a different chart or something.
Yeah, I think you heard pressure and temperature. Right. On the right. Yeah, pressure and temperature. Was that 44 PSI for the suction line pressure?
Yes.
It was 21.
Yeah. 44 converts to 21, right?
Right.
So 35 here. 35 is much higher than 5 to 12. So we're above it. Okay. Subcooling, they tell us we want 10 to 15, but I like to use the 10 to 20 in this book. So how do I get that? It's opposite. Superheat is the actual minus the converted, whereas subcooling is the converted minus the actual. So I've got to convert this. 185 converts to what? 66? I'm sorry, 96. So that's my converted minus my actual, which was 67. And that's going to be what, 29? 29 degrees. 29 degrees is above 20. So I've got another up indicator. Finally, amp draw. How to determine expected amp draw off of tonnage if we don't have it on the unit data plate. It's a 3 ton, so what's it going to be? That's right, 7 per ton, so 3 times 7, 21. But your reading was we had how much? Is that 9? Yeah. 9. 9 is definitely below. So, do you have, disregarding head pressure, do we have 1 down, 2 up, 1 down? Does that fit any of the criteria for a problem? Low outside ambient. What else? Restricted dryer. Okay, so let me ask you. You got 2 things it's narrowed down to here. How are you going to test that it's low ambient? So what?
Temperature.
Yeah. How am I going test that's not a problem. If low ambient is a problem, how do I test that? You can't just walk in and tell the customer, well, it's one of these two things I'm going to hit the house. You're going to have to fix it, right?
Yeah.
How do I test low ambient? Yes, sir.
Well, one way to test it is because, again, a strike against liquid restrictions because your head pressure is pretty close.
Against the liquid restriction? That might be. We'll get to the liquid restriction in a minute. How do we test if it's liquid restriction?
Throw we can cover the condenser.
That's right.
Warm it
Either
up.
cut my condenser fan off, or if I've got a plastic bag or something, block the airflow. Because we're trying to tell the customer that there's nothing wrong with their room, their unit, except for it's too cool outside to be used. And so we block it off like it's a hot day. This stuff should go away, right?
Right.
Subcooling should come down. Superheat should come down, right? Head pressure is going to go up. Suction pressure is going to come up because we're saying the only thing wrong with it is low ambient. So that's pretty easy to prove. And you look at it and go, it's 67. I don't want to open a window. But anyway, let's say you attack it the other way. You say, okay, I got a filter dryer. Is that what it says? We're about to cover that, but anywhere on the liquid restriction line, how do I prove that? Temperature across the filter dryer. What did I say the other night? 3 degrees?
Yeah.
3 degrees, I got a problem. But we talked about, is the line too long? Is it going too high? Okay? Is it kinked up? That would be a restriction. Are there 2 filters on there? Okay? So we're going to use our temperature testers and our eyes visually to check out that kind of thing. Okay. Y'all getting a little better with this procedure? Use it, the 5. I hope so. Next week we'll be doing mechanical, right? Okay. The drainage. Green. Rudy Jones. All right, where did we leave off?
Hey, quick question.
Yes,
When
sir.
you check the tip across the filter, it should come in 3 degrees lower or 3 degrees higher.
It shouldn't be more than 3 different. You really want it the same temperature. If there's a pressure drop, it's going to drop temperature a little bit.
Stops at 25,000.
289. Okay. Okay. Section 25.9, right? Restricted or plugged liquid line.
We say what? On the troubleshoot.
I'm continuing already. All right, what will this cost? Looking back at the low suction, high suction, low head, high head, what could this restrictor liquid line cost? Will it cost low suction?
Yes. Yeah.
Will it cost high suction? Will it cost low head? Will it cost high head? Okay, so we know what it'll cost. Let me just read through this. For the evaporator to produce sufficient refrigerant vapor to satisfy the compressor capacity at a normal suction pressure balance, the coil must receive an unrestricted flow of liquid refrigerant. This means the liquid line must be free of restrictions from the point of pickup of the refrigerant at the outlet of the condenser through the receiver, which we don't have, because they may be talking to you and you're taking this chapter as if you're in refrigeration equipment. A lot of our refrigeration equipment does have a receiver, but we don't. Through dryers, side glasses, any kind of refrigerant controls, and the liquid line itself. restrictions or plugs are serious enough to affect operation will usually produce insufficient pressure drop to cause a reduction in the boiling point of the liquid to a point where the refrigerant expansion takes place. This will produce a detectable temperature drop across the restriction, which can be detected by means of a surface temperature thermometer. All right, so
we can find a plug with
yeah. If it's sufficient pressure drop, we'll see a temperature across it. Now,
You can use the infrared on that.
you could probably, inside the coil, that's a good thing about that. But like I said, inside at the metering device, which we'll talk about in a minute, is kind of hard. We're already going to have a pressure drop there. So like they say here, sometimes you may end up having to install a tap-on service valve to take the suction pressure and say, hey, this is what it was at the condenser unit. Here it is right here before my metering device. Is there a pressure drop? If there is, that's probably your problem. If that's the case, you either have to run a new line or a bigger line, or maybe the filter dryer is stopped up or something, okay? They make now as far as adding a pressure tap, they make we do not recommend the bolt down units. I don't know if y'all have ever used them. They come for certain different sizes. You put them on there, they have an Allen wrench. You tighten them down. You put the cap, it's got a piercing Schrader valve. You support that valve with a wrench, and then you bolt down on the head, and it pushes the whole component in, and it punctures the line, and so now it's a working service valve. The problem is they're aluminum, and if you're putting aluminum on a copper line, it's going to leak, and it may not leak for a couple of years, but two different metals are going to leak if they're not sufficiently welded together. So, that's a cheap valve, but it's easy to do. It's 5 minutes. You got about, if the unit's 15 years old, if it's not got a lot of life, fine. But if not, we use a braze on, a saddle braze on, which all you do there is you would sand it where it's going if it's a dirty old copper line, clean it. And it has just a little saddle on it. And so you braze around it and it saddles it to the surface. But it's copper. And then you have the same kind of bolt down that'll pierce through. But before you do that, before you pierce it, you hook it to your nitrogen tank and run it up to about 200 pounds. And if you got a leak anywhere where you just brazed it on, it's going to come leaking out. So you can repair it. You know it's leak tight. So they are probably about $10, $15, and you're going to get your torches out, you're going to get your nitrogen out. But if it's for a fairly new unit, something under warranty, that's the way to go with this service tap, okay? And, yes, sir.
Get a vacuum?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt, but we are just talking about, tell you what, I'd probably blow it out with refrigerant before I pull out the vacuum pump on it. Because, you're talking about a 3/8 line, maybe an inch long. Not going to have much on it.
10 cubic inch.
Yeah, maybe a cubic inch. So, yeah, you can probably purge it with your refrigerant first before you pierce it.
And what I would don't mind, we're doing this because we want to get pressure.
Okay, so we got a problem with customer calls, right? And you look at it and you go, I got low suction, and I've got look at it, thank you. And so you're looking at the other things. You're gonna try to disprove everything else that's easier that we've come through. What did we started off? We said that's gonna be a clogged filter. You're gonna look at the filter. You're gonna look at the coil. Do I feel good airflow coming out? That kind of thing. You're gonna look at everything else that'll cause that. But when you get to this is how you want. If you eliminate everything else that's easier to test, when you get to this is how you would do it. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. A filter dryer, right? When do we install a filter dryer? Anytime we open the system, other than with the service valve, replace the old one, because even if it didn't have any trash in it, now it's absorbed air, which has moisture in it. That's why it's a filtered dryer. Like on our recovery machines, we have a pre-filter to help clean it. That's not a dryer though, it's just a filter. But anyway, and so anytime you change that filter dryer, it's there to protect the metering device. Because the metering device is the smallest thing in the system, and its distribution system, maybe cat tubes or something else. We're trying to catch it in the filter instead of catching it in a cat tube or something. So we used to always say install it as close as possible to the metering device, which is in the air handler. It's the end of the liquid line. And so, back in the day, a lot of times we would install a filter dryer that had a service cap on it. It had a valve coming right off. I don't know if y'all have ever seen them. They're not but a couple of bucks more. And so you put it, if it's not a heat pump, it only goes one direction, right? And so coming off that filter dryer, you just reread the pressure. Outside it said, hey, I had 44 pounds. Is that? Well, actually, let's say inside I had 50 something, and on the inside it said I had 44. Because we got the pressure drop across it. See what I'm saying? So sometimes you can just install a filter dryer. Okay?
You put it next to the evaporator.
As close to the evaporator as possible. But you got to remove the old. Yes, sir.
So the whole purpose of that shredder and the old type of metering device that triple cross there so often was to check your liquid line pressure?
To check your pressure, that's right.
Why are they using wrong in that? Save us a whole lot of trouble.
They will get lazy and cheap.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's move on. Let's see. Okay, so we got a bad metering device here. It's 2510. Will 2510 cause low suction? Absolutely. Will a bad metering device cause high suction? Oh, I should say, can it cause? Yes. Can it cause high head? Can it cause low head?
Yep.
So it can cause the three of them. Alright? So, at first, in here, and I highly recommend y'all take your time to read this stuff, but at first it talks about TXV valves here, okay? So let's just see what it says here. It says, this kind of stuff, they don't give y'all enough. Operation of thermostat expansion valve is covered in another chapter. However, these valves are shipped on units, are factory set, and the adjustment should never be changed except after an accurate superheat check. In the commercial refrigeration class, I usually give out a little handout on TEV. And it says in there, absolutely, positively never adjust it unless you're about to change it. In other words, if you're about to say, this thing is no good, well then go ahead and change it.
But we're gonna try it, I guess.
We're going to say, okay, last ditch effort, I'm going to try to change it. All right. Because the TXV valve acts as a maintain a constant superheat of gas that passes through the coil, changing the adjustment of the valve only floods the coil if the valve is open, or it reduces the capacity if it's closed. Check all other possibilities of trouble first before adjusting it.
What would that sound like on the test?
How should you adjust the TXV? Now this is important. It says, it is possible for the valve to stick in the nearly closed position, in a fully closed position, or a fully open position. So, first of all, a fully closed, we're going to have low pressure, right? Because the head pressure follows, right? Our compressor works off the compression ratio. got a compression ratio tops out at, let's say, 5-to-1. If I'm feeding it with 10 pounds of low pressure, it's going to only pump 60, right? So we're going to low pressure, it's going to spiral down. If it's fully open, well, then it's letting more refrigerant into the low side, so I'm going to have high suction. And if it's somewhere stuck in the middle, Lord knows what you're going to do. But this is easy. How we check this, okay? So I'm going to either have low suction and low head, or I'm going to have high suction and low head, right? So what are we going to do? You're going to just, I'm going to find the bulb, and I'm going to put it in my hot little hand. And what that's going to do to my bulb?
Change the pressure to make it too.
It's going to go, oh, this thing is hot. I got a lot of superheat. We need some refrigerant, and it should open up if it's working. When it opens up, my suction pressure should go up. And so you warm it up, and don't put a torch on it. Warm it up, and have somebody look at the suction, and they go, it didn't move. Probably got a bad bulb or a stuck valve, right? You can stick it in some ice water. It should close down, right? You go, hey, this thing's too high. Stuck open. Stick it in some cold water. It should close it up and go down, okay? So it's pretty simple. Now, one last thing on the TXV before we go to a fix is the bulbs can go bad. If the bulb goes from wherever it's sensing to the top of the diaphragm, it's not part of our refrigeration system. And if it breaks or leaks, it loses the pressure. It can't expand and contract and apply pressure. And so that bulb goes, whoa, I lost all my pressure. It's always going, okay. So if that's the case, you're going to see it not change. But it can also come loose. It can come loose in there. It should be against the suction line and insulated, because we could have two possibilities. It could come loose and be on the return side of the coil and be hitting 75, 80 degree air. And it's going, whoa, I need a lot of refrigerant and flood it. Or that bulb may be on the supply side of the coil and be hit with, say, 50 degree, 55 degree air. It needs to be on the suction line, right, and insulated. So you have to eyeball that. All right, and then so a fixed tube, they're calling it cat tube, but anyway, a fixed system, a little more simple. If it gets clogged, guess what? It's driving it down. Not much you can do about it. They even say it here. We don't fix cat tubes, y'all. We replace either the coil or the metering device. If you truly do have a cat tube, you're going to change out the whole evaporator, because if you want to change the cat tube, you would have fixed the cat tube, right? And this has other things that bear on it. Why would this thing stick up? Well, there's obviously trash in there. Trash and or moisture. At that low temperature, it freezes, nothing you buy. But anyway, so chances are it was either very poor service. You ever seen people take their valve gauges off and the hose is dragged through the yard, picking up grass and dirt, and they hook it to your system? So either very sloppy, or the install. They didn't circulate nitrogen. We got carbonization on the inside, lots of flakes. Where did they catch up? In the smallest section. Okay? So chances are, if you get one of this situation, and I was talking to somebody this morning in the morning class, he said, well, I've never run into that in my life. I'm going, well, good. We're just covering all your bases. We're not going to say 3 out of every 10 calls you're going to have this problem. We're just saying it can happen. But if it does, you're probably going to have to filter your refrigerant or put new refrigerant, because it's got contaminants in it. You don't want to put a brand new coil in there, put trashy refrigerant back in there and stop it up. All right, so now if you did, you know, I'm not gonna say there wasn't a day where I didn't prize my time. And you do stuff, you go, okay, I can make a buck. Nowadays, you go, I'm changing that. Cool. But y'all may be young, you go, it's a neighbor, I'm gonna do it. All right, well, braising cat tubes is probably the second most difficult job there is. The hardest, as far as braising, is four-way valves on heat pumps. If you get a system over 3.5 tons, you're gonna have a 7/8 line in there. That's 4 connections that are hard. That's hard copper. That's not all soft L. You're gonna have to probably have a forked brazen rod, you know what I'm talking about, your torch, so it can spread it in 3 places, heat it up, so you can pull it loose without cutting. If you cut it, you're gonna have to repipe it. Then you're gonna have to heat it up and get rid of all the excess, you know. Anyway, so that's a hard job. Well, cat tube is not hard, it's delicate. First of all, it's a little bitty piece of copper. You know, 3/8 heats up glowing red like that. Trust me, a little cat tube, you just kind of flying it by. Oh, it's red. Another thing is, the hole may be the size of a bobby pin going in it. That's a small hole. We don't need solder in there. And so usually we'll take 5 or 6 inches, we'll go back an inch and a half, and we'll sand it from the end. We won't sand the end. We'll take the end and we'll take a little screwdriver or something, you know, a very small one, and try to swag it out a little bit to make the beginning of the hole a little larger. And then we get our greasy, oily hands all over the end, because braising, the silver solder doesn't like oil. I don't want the flux or the braise running up to the end, because if it does, we just soldered the hole. You think it was stuck before, what if you braise one closed? And so, you know, and then you've got to crimp a larger cat tube over it and seal it. So we don't recommend it mainly because your time is more valuable. You may do a perfect job replacing this stuck cat tube and the other 4 blocked up. And the customer's like, well, I don't think you're fixing it. You go, oh, this one's doing great. It's your other ones. So anyway, we don't recommend it. Now, changing an expansion valve. I was telling the day class, boy, we had some troubles about 2 or 3 years ago with Rheem and some of the other brands. I don't want to just point them out. You get on TXV valve, they do fine, especially on a heat pump. Do great in the winter, but when it came to run their air conditioner, TXV valve wouldn't work. The bulb was burnt, lost all the pressure. That's because they were mounting them on the suction line. They ship you that unit, you go to braise in the suction line. When you got it, the heat was breaking. So that's why they don't ship them anymore with them already insulated. They'll give you a clamp, they'll give you some insulation, and they'll warn you, TXV bulb not mounted, because too many of them got broke from the heat. But at any rate, if you do have to fix them, sometimes you get lucky and they are flares. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You can open them up. And a lot of times right there at the beginning of them, they do a lot of times have a strainer. If it's your lucky day, you remove your refrigerant, cover it, you open up that flare nut, and that strainer is just clogged up, clean it off, roll it off, nitrogen, pressure test it, pull it back in, hit the road. But probably not going to be a flare, probably going to be a sweat. And so you're about to do that, so what do? Okay, I'm going to try to adjust the TXV valve. We're all the way back to the beginning now, right? All you're trying to do is see if I can unstuck the stuck valve. You may get lucky and have a heat pump, and maybe you can blow it out reversing the cycle. Most TXV valves, even today, are what we call non-equalizing. They make them, so this is non-equalizing, and they will. What they have is tiny little holes in them to allow to let it bleed through. But they're so small, they still take 10 minutes or so. So most are basically non-equalized. So what I'm saying here is, if I've got a heat pump, if I've got a non-equalizing valve, I'm gonna have a bypass chamber, because you can't go back to the TXV 1 and so a lot of times you can't even blow it out because it's going in the bypass. So you can try to adjust it. If you're about to pull that thing out, okay, you can try to adjust it. But if you do, we got some rules. Go get you a Sharpie, pull off the cover. You know, you're going to have probably a 4-sided bolt coming out. You know what I'm talking about? Kind of like an Allen steel. Mark one side or something, whatever you got, and mark it on your valve so you can go, these are lined up. This is where I started. Because if you fix it, you need to go back to where you started. And then only turn a half a turn at a time while you watch it work, okay? Now, since, you know, this is what students have been asking me since I've been up here. Well, Clay, since they don't want us to adjust it, why do they make them adjust it? So now we're seeing TXV valves. It used to only be on refrigeration equipment, but now we're seeing it to get the efficiency. We're seeing it on so many more air conditioning units, and to save money. And you know, okay, I got a piece of copper, a forged body, and a piston. That probably cost them 50 cents. I got this precision brass TXV with bulb and all that. That's probably going to cost them less 10 or 15. Of course, they're going to charge you a lot more. So they have begun to make them non-adjustable. You can't even open up the bottom of them. There is no stem to adjust, okay? All right, so I beat that subject to death. All right. Let's look at undersized refrigerant lines. I think I touched on this the other day a little bit, but let's say this is a short little thing. What will this cause? Will it cause low suction? Will it cause high suction? Will it cause low head or high head first, right? Can it cause low head? Like we talked about. Even though the evaporator is able to produce sufficient refrigerant to balance the compressor capacity within the normal suction pressure range, if the suction line is undersized and has too high a flow rate, the suction pressure measured at the suction valve will be low. This also means that low compressor efficiencies, high evaporator operating temperatures, and with attendant reduction in system performance. So the more this goes on, the bigger and bigger problem it becomes.
How high will operating temperature be?
Above 40. It's okay, I'm starting to see it be higher and higher. Because we got a shortage of refrigerant all the time. Liquid line, possibly the liquid line is not very sufficient. So I think I talked about that last time about we've got a long climb up or a long ride out. We're going to have a pressure drop, and so you're going to go up in size. You know, if your house is at the end of a dirt road, you better run a big enough pipe to carry the water, or otherwise it's just going to trickle out. That's what we're saying, you know. I don't know, I don't have a water pressure. Well, you can live at the top of the hill. Okay, same way with our refrigerant. And of course, it's critical because that liquid line, if it flashes back to a gas, we're in big trouble, right? The suction line, y'all, the test for this is, pretty much just experience. Like if you look at it and there's any liquid line that's under 3/8, you got a problem. The suction line usually gives itself away if you're at the outside or the inside unit, and the manufacturer comes out with, say, a fitting, and maybe the installer used that size for an inch or two, and then he suddenly went down to a smaller size, we got a problem. Oh, all the time. Somebody goes, well, we don't have any 7/8 on the truck. Yeah, we got a roll of 3/4. And so they cut a little splice, grip it down, and run it. Y'all, these installers, no offense, they haven't been trained. All they're trained to do is install systems. When you get hired, you know what they put you on? Install. They put you with the guy who's got experience, and he may have just been working for them for 3 weeks. Nothing wrong with that, but that's what he's been doing. He never served. If you don't believe me, go to your house, look at your air conditioner, and look at the condensation line. Can you take a cap off and clean it with a snake? If not, an installer put in. Because somebody who services knows this is going to stop up. I need to clean it. I need a track to get to it. Try to take your cover off your unit. If there's a refrigerant line in the way, an installer put it in. He's not worried about working on it. He's trying to get to the next job, and it's not his fault. He hasn't been trained. You see ductwork doing something crazy, and you're like, I bet that was a new installer. Okay? Exactly. Can't take this cover off, and you're like, well, never wanted it to be serviced. Sometimes they put them in the ag, and it's bigger than the access hole. And you go, this was one of those for lifers. Okay. So just use common sense. Like I said, if you see something like that, I mean, that's not the kind of thing any of us know by heart. Like, that size unit should take this size pipe. We don't know that, but if it looks like it's snaked down, I'm not saying I hadn't ever done it, but I'm sure I had a really good reason to do it. But, okay. I forgot I was recording. I never do that. All right. Let's look at refrigerant shortage. We'll stop there, and I'll let y'all do your labs. Remember, this is the last night for electrical. Next week, tomorrow I'll come in and I'll rebug them. We're going to do mechanical. So next week, you're going to have to bring your gauges and your temperature sets, to get this data here, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is pretty important because, this is probably the biggest problem you're going to run into with the most often. Well, first of all, a refrigerant shortage shows up as, will it cause low suction? Can you look back at your list? Will it cause high suction? No. Will it cause high head? No. Will it cause low head? Okay, so if I got those two things, maybe it's a refrigerant shortage, so let's talk about that. The most common cause for system failure and demand for service is the loss of refrigerant from the system. Factory built systems are pressure tested with pressure buildup of 250 to 300 in the system, and leak tested with electronic leak detector capable of detecting leaks of a ½ ounce of refrigerant per year. Okay, what they're trying to tell us is they don't usually leak from the factory. In contrast, in turn, the field installed portion of the system should be checked the same way. If at any time the system is found to be low on refrigerant, the leak should be found and repaired and the system evacuated before the system is recharged. When checking for leaks, check all surfaces of each device in the refrigeration system. This includes all tubes and the evaporator and the condenser, all factories, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay, y'all heard me say this 100 times. Look at the next paragraph. When liquid refrigerant is vaporized, the space it occupies is increased many times. For example, a cubic inch of liquid R22 expands to 52 cubic inches of vapor, right? So we don't want to, in other words, I'm running liquid up this 3/8 line. We better not have a shortage because if it flashes to gas, it's going to take up the whole line. So let's talk about this for a second. Now, leak. Most people who install these lines, depending on if they're installers or experienced guys, are going to, if you've done it for a while, you're not going to use a line set. I don't know if everybody knows the difference, I'll just explain. You can buy, say my system uses a 7/8 and a 3/8 roll. The larger is going to have to be insulated. They sell them in 50-foot rolls at the supply house, the refrigerant grade copper. I'm not talking about Lowe's or anywhere like that. They sell 15-foot or something. But in contrast, and that's your best price, trust me. In contrast, you buy your unit from the customer and they say, hey, you want a line set? And you say, sure. And they sell you a 25-foot line set for the same sizes. Sometimes they have 15. If you have a really long run, they'll sell you a 35-foot. But it's the same sizes, except for the suction line is already insulated with one long set of Armaflex. You don't know what I'm talking about? We call that Armaflex. So the difference is they have been pressurized with nitrogen and they've got some caps in the end of them. Whereas our copper is not pressurized, it's blown through with nitrogen and it's capped, but it's 50-foot roll. Now at the end of the suction line in these line sets, they give you 2 90s because they don't know how you're going to hook it, right? How exactly you're going to get in there. Most installers are taking a line set, they run it in there from the inside to the outside, no joints. They don't want them to use any joints, right? Because there's a chance of a leak, and these guys have only been working for 3 weeks. Right? So that makes sense. Whereas, someone like me, I'm saving money. I'm buying a 50-foot roll, and when I need to put a 90 in there or something, I'll do it. I'm not uncomfortable about breaking out the braze and the leak. But when you get through, regardless, you may see a line set there, they go, they only needed half of it. They'll let it sit there and rack it up in the basement because they didn't know they could cut it. Okay? Anyway, so what they do is, as soon as you think you're ready, it cools down enough, you need to pressurize it. Right? You've been brazing outside, so the valves may be high. One of the rules of brazing is you pull the valve cores out because they'll melt. And they're no good. So, and you've got your bolt down where you release the refrigerant. Those need to be kept cold so they don't warp and leak later on in the life. So you have to wait for it to cool down enough to put your valve cores back in to pressure test it. You put nitrogen in there, and so you should, like they say, what did they just say here, 200 pounds or so? They highly recommend you pressurize it to the design limit. Well, the outside unit has a much higher pressure rating than the inside. So whichever one's lower, and remember, you're not pressure testing the condensing unit outside, it's closed off. It's sitting there holding refrigerant. If it's got a leak, when you release the refrigerant, you go like, there's no refrigerant coming out. Somebody hit it with a, what you call a truck or something there, back in the supply. So, you pressure test it to that level, and you leave it for a while. Well, you get better at it, you go, 30 minutes is enough. I remember when I started, I'd leave some overnight. Yeah. But that slows down your job a good bit. So, it's got to be pressurized. It's got to stand for a while. And then when it's through, you can vacuum test it. So, more than likely, most of our leaks are going to occur field installed. That's not to say whenever you've got you can have vibration leaks, especially in the evaporator with cat tubes. You got a fan running. Some of those blower motors don't run perfectly smooth, and they cause just a tiny little tremor. Well, you got a line that's the size of a pencil lead, touching another one, you give it a year or two, it can rub a hole in it, that kind of stuff. So, but more than likely, our leaks are going to appear filled and stopped. Now, it's great to say the leak should be repaired. Try to tell a customer that you're going to rip all the sheetrock down to test it. You're not going to guarantee you're going to find it, but you're going to look, and they're going to pay you. So just call me when they agree to that. I'll be glad to call them. So all you can do is the best job, because it's not like we're not going to do this for free. So obvious things to look for. You know, if the fins on the outside unit are all bent in, maybe somebody ran into it. Maybe somebody sat on it. You know, do they have children? Children beat things up. They do. They really do. They beat on it with anything they can find. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for leaks. So let's talk about what we should do if you got a leak here. This is really good information, I think, on page 291. You probably want to keep this with you forever. Determine the amount of refrigerant. First of all, they're breaking it down into two kinds of systems. A system with a receiver, and a system without a receiver. So that's us. We're a system without a receiver, right? We're working on a piece of refrigeration. So let's just jump on down to a system without a receiver. It says the amount of refrigerant in the system is much more critical. That makes pretty good sense. Systems without receivers depend on the lower tubes of the condenser to act as a storage for the surplus refrigerant when the system is under lighter loads. All right, let's see. Here's this. Skip over where it says low temperature. We're not working on refrigeration, but it says, you see where it says air conditioning units?
Where about? What page?
I'm in the paragraph with systems without a receiver.
Okay.
Under 10 to 12, it says air conditioning units, because of the wider variation of load, usually operate at, see where we got this now, 10 to 20 of subcoolant. That's pretty easy, right? What's the correct charge? 10 to 20 degrees of subcoolant. And some of these newer systems are nice enough to say 8 degrees or 10 degrees. That's how we're going to do it. Continuing on, it says systems without a receiver. When it says charging system with a receiver, systems that do not have a receiver are critical on charge within 4 ounces of refrigerant. That's on a thermospaction valve, and a half an ounce if it's a fixed orifice. So it's important that we get it right, okay? Now, what are we going to do here, okay? You come up to a system, you cannot make the customer repair it. I mean, it's their money, right? Now, there are limits. You know, if you run into a customer who's got a system that has over 50 pounds, EPA says it's got to be repaired. It's a leak rate over 50%. I've never seen a system over 20 pounds in a residence. That's huge. So you're not going to see that. We can't make them do it. All you can do is suggest. Now, so that's the thing. Am I going to hunt and repair it, or am I just going to charge it back up? You know, some of that is they're going to say, well, what do you think it's going to cost? And you go, well, I think it's going to cost about $600 or something. They might go, okay, will you look for the leak? And you say, fine, you know, charge $100 an hour looking. You let me know. I'll let you know when I find it, or you let me know when you want me to stop looking. So anyway, you know, it's kind of a trade-off there. Obviously, it's very easy to look right there by where your gauges are hooked up. You can pull out your leak detector, look around. Anything looks suspicious, you go in the evaporator, check out where they feel bracelet. But beyond that, who knows? So, how am I gonna charge it? Am I gonna pull everything out and weigh it in? That's a good accurate charge. It says right here we need to be, if it's not a TXV, I need to be within a half an ounce. If it's a TEV, then I can be within 4 ounces. So, you know, if you go outside and it says factory charge 6.3 ounces, that's pretty easy, except for you're going to have to pull everything out of it, right? All right. So, and that's a good thing to do if you're going to repair the leak, because you're going to need to remove the refrigerant once you find the leak, braze it, pressure test it, vacuum it, do it. But if they go, no, I have this leak every year, somebody comes every 2 years and does it, you know, okay, you just want me to charge it. Then charge it with stuff to them, okay? Just that simple. All right, that ought to be more than enough. Somebody make a mark where we're ended. I'll let y'all work on your labs. Remember next week to bring your gauge, your temperature sensors, that kind of stuff. Must have had a lot of heat, you know what I mean?
All 4 wires.